Israel-Palestine War, a military perspective. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not just another regional dispute. It is a continuous case study of modern warfare, asymmetrical conflict, and the intersection of politics and military doctrine. To understand it is to understand how states and non-state actors adapt, innovate, and endure across decades. For military thinkers, policymakers, and even ordinary observers, this war illustrates how technology, strategy, and human resilience collide to produce both tragedy and hard lessons. It matters because patterns visible here, urban combat, drone warfare, tunnel networks, missile defense systems, and cyber operations, are not confined to this corner of the Middle East but foreshadow what other militaries may face worldwide. If one looks at the Vietnam War for lessons in guerrilla strategy, or the Balkan conflicts for lessons in ethnic strife, then the Israel-Palestine War is equally a living textbook on how conventional and unconventional forces confront each other in densely populated regions under the eyes of a global audience. Historical military framework. To view this war militarily requires stepping back into the layered history of campaigns and operations that have defined the region. Since the First Arab-Israeli War of 1948, Israel has consistently faced coalitions of adversaries and asymmetrical actors who rely less on traditional battlefields and more on endurance and attrition. The Six-Day War of 1967 showcased Israel's lightning operational doctrine, air superiority established within hours, maneuver warfare across Sinai and the Golan, and rapid territorial consolidation. Yet this brilliance bred long-term vulnerability. Holding land with restive populations forced Israel into a permanent counterinsurgency posture. From the Yom Kippur War in 1973, where Israel nearly collapsed under surprise, to the First Intifada in 1987, military doctrine has shifted from conventional maneuvers to counter-guerrilla operations. For Palestinians, the military legacy is different but no less significant. Fragmented militias and later organized groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad leveraged rockets, small arms, and tunnels as asymmetric counters to Israel's armor and jets. This long arc demonstrates how military problems evolve. The move from tank divisions to Qassam rockets mirrors how conflicts worldwide devolve into asymmetry when conventional parity is impossible. The role of asymmetrical warfare. Asymmetrical warfare is not new, but nowhere is it more persistent than here. Israel maintains one of the most technologically advanced militaries in the world, with F-35 fighters, submarines, cyber capabilities, and the Iron Dome missile defense system. In contrast, Palestinian militant groups rely on tactics designed to negate these advantages. Cheap rockets that overwhelm defenses by sheer volume, tunnels that bypass surveillance, drones modified from commercial platforms, and ambushes in dense urban terrain where tanks and aircraft lose much of their superiority. The U.S. experience in Iraq and Afghanistan echoes this reality. Billions spent on advanced systems could be undermined by improvised explosive devices or small insurgent cells. In Gaza, militants adapt continually. When Israel develops countermeasures against rockets, tunnels appear. When tunnels are collapsed, drones rise. This cycle of adaptation illustrates a brutal truth in military science. The weaker actor dictates the character of conflict by forcing the stronger actor to fight on terrain, literal or figurative, of its choosing. Urban warfare and civilian entanglement. Modern militaries dread urban warfare, and the Israel-Palestine War demonstrates why. Fighting in densely packed neighborhoods of Gaza or West Bank refugee camps creates a near-impossible balance, distinguishing combatants from civilians, neutralizing threats without disproportionate destruction, and maintaining legitimacy in the eyes of international law and global media. Israel's raids, airstrikes, and incursions consistently meet accusations of excess, while Palestinian groups embed their infrastructure in civilian zones as both shield and propaganda tool. This is not unique. Grozny in Chechnya, Fallujah in Iraq, and Mosul in Syria all show the same grim equation. Cities amplify casualties and blur distinctions. Militarily, it forces Israel to train its forces in precision and intelligence-driven targeting, while Hamas and others train fighters to exploit that hesitation. The military lesson is that urban terrain neutralizes many of the strongest tools of conventional armies, reducing jet fighters and tanks to supporting roles while infantry and intelligence determine outcomes at close range. Technology, innovation, and the future battlefield. Few conflicts have acted as testing grounds for new technologies like this one. Israel's Iron Dome is now a model for short-range missile defense worldwide. with US forces studying its deployment for protecting bases. Drone warfare has become central, with Hamas using off-the-shelf drones to drop explosives and Israel using advanced unmanned systems for reconnaissance and precision strikes. Cyber operations, from hacking communications to spreading disinformation, have opened yet another front. Historically, conflicts like the Falklands in 1982 revealed the vulnerability of surface ships to missile technology, permanently changing naval doctrine. Similarly, the Israel-Palestine War may prove the defining case study in low-cost drone swarms, rapid missile defense integration, and hybrid cyber-military campaigns. Militaries across Asia, Europe, and the Americas now study this war not for its politics but for its demonstration of how even local conflicts can rapidly resemble the multi-domain wars future generals fear. The hard lessons of military reality. Ultimately, the Israel-Palestine War from a military lens is not just about who wins or loses individual battles, but about the hard truths it reflects. Advanced militaries are not invincible. Weaker actors can adapt, survive, and even dictate tempo. Civilian populations become unwilling participants in strategies of survival and legitimacy. Technology accelerates, but adaptation remains the equalizer. Historical echoes from Vietnam, Chechnya, Iraq, and Afghanistan remind us that the future of warfare is messy, hybrid, and often unwinnable in the traditional sense. For the military mind, the Israel-Palestine conflict is important not because it provides answers, but because it raises uncomfortable questions. How do you fight an enemy who will not meet you in open battle? How do you apply overwhelming force without eroding your legitimacy? And how do you adapt when adaptation itself is the enemy's greatest strength? The war endures, not as an unsolvable puzzle, but as an ongoing seminar in the realities of modern conflict. Its lessons travel far beyond the region, shaping doctrines in places that may one day face the same grim dilemmas. War may evolve, but the paradoxes it creates remain constant.